Welcome, everybody, to Bunch Formation College Football Playoff Live Reaction Edition. I'm
Yes,
Chris.
sir.
He is David Ubben. He didn't know that the ranking show was starting an hour earlier this week.
That's on me. That's on me.
But
Chris, you don't want to know
ago,
how close we came. We came extremely close to me missing your texts and me missing part of the show to bathe our 1-year-old. So,
oh boy, because I texted him, I was like, 3 minutes, I'm in. I'm like, hey, I'm here and ready to go. And you're like, wait, when is it? Oh yeah, it's an hour earlier this week. It was 8 p.m.
That's
Eastern.
my bad. Hand up. That's on me.
It's 7 p.m. Eastern this week, and next week I think is like 7:30 because of the Basketball Champions Classic, and then
I thought after the basketball they do it like at 9 o'clock or something. I would actually appreciate that. Some of us have kids who gotta get to bed.
Yeah, well, good thing you read your text in time, or I'd be doing this alone. All right, we got the College Football Playoff Ranking Show. If you don't have YouTube TV like me, we will read out the live rankings as they happen. I'm watching it through my parents' Xfinity account on the ESPN app on my Roku TV. David's got cable like a genius, apparently. So that is where that is going to be. I'm curious. Also, by the way, if anybody's new, please subscribe to the pod. If you're in here through Twitter, we're Bunch Formation on YouTube and all the social media. David and I have been doing the show, just the two of us since the spring, having a lot of fun. Independent show, separate from the Athletic, and we will probably put the back half of this onto the audio feed for tomorrow, like we did last week. But now we got some rankings. The show. We're 2 minutes in, and ESPN is still showing fancy graphics and stuff like that. But the biggest questions I have, I think, right now are how far up Texas Tech goes. Do they jump Ole Miss? Maybe they could. Does Texas A&M jump Indiana? I don't think they should, and it might not matter, but there's that.
Yeah.
Who is the top-ranked Group of 5 team? And maybe, like, how far up does Miami move? You know, Virginia lost, Louisville lost, but Louisville has that win over Miami. So can Miami jump both of them? I don't know. I'm curious. What are you interested in?
I want to see the ACC carnage. What does that look like? I'm curious. You know, a lot of it is sort of just the jostling at the top. I don't find that interesting because I think a lot of that's going to sort itself out on the field. But like a lot of the G5 stuff, you know, like do we get a surprise? Does James Madison pop up there? Who's got the inside track in the American? You know, whatever we see with whoever that team is, we won't know more than likely how far that gap is. Like if it's JMU, like that's going to be super interesting. And I think the odds of that are closer than we maybe think because the computers seem to love JMU. Austin Mock's model's been high on them all year.
And they're higher in the AP poll, but they are the highest team. Now, I don't know if they'll have enough wins down the stretch to hold off a 2-loss American team.
Yeah.
But if the American keeps beating each other up, and you open the door to a 3-loss conference champion, it's potentially there. Also, we may have no Group of 5 teams ranked. We may have some ranked. T. Davidson 5203. Texas Tech should be 6. Look, they've got a case, and I thought about it a lot when I was doing the 136 rankings. They now have the win at Utah and versus BYU, both blowouts. Those are both top like 13 teams according to the CFP rankings. And the loss to Arizona State was without Baron Morton, the quarterback. So there is a case. Or Ole Miss has won at Oklahoma. They blew out Tulane, who's floating around the top 25. They beat LSU, but that doesn't mean much anymore. But they also barely beat Washington State. So
do you think we're going to get A&M jumping?
Rankings are starting now. Rankings are now starting. Number 25, Cincinnati.
Okay.
They were not ranked previously. I have had them in the top 25, but Cincinnati coming in. That will help Utah, who beat them. That'll also help BYU because that's a top 25.
And here's South Florida, 24. So we have a Group of 5 team. All right.
Now, is that the only one?
Well, that's the question. We have 2 teams that are crashing the rankings this week. I'd be shocked if JMU's higher at this point.
I would too, just because I think their best win is like Old Dominion. Yeah. And, you know, they played Louisville competitive in a loss, but you don't have any wins to jump on. USF has the blowout of North Texas.
From a logical perspective, I don't see the path for them to get ahead of an American champion. You'd have to have just a complete fall apart. Like I said, the computers seem to love them. I don't really know what that case is from somebody who just watches the American teams versus JMU. I'm like,
number 23 Tennessee, number 22
is
Pitt, which is playing a game against Notre Dame this week that does not matter to Pat Nardizzi apparently.
By the way, he is right, and also you cannot say that. Come on, dude.
Yes.
Like,
well,
we
will talk about that.
But like, there's something that you say in your coach's meeting, or there's something that you say in an idle conversation with a reporter that's just chatting. Don't say it in your press conference. Don't do that.
We will talk about that on the Thursday preview show.
Yeah, we'll get
Subscribe
into
to the pod if you haven't yet. Iowa 21. So they only drop one spot for the last second loss to Oregon, which is fair. I don't think I had them outside my top 25, but I think I didn't move them this week. They just stayed at 26.
The committee seems to be really good. They've always been good at, and I appreciate this. Again, I don't vote in any of the top 25 polls. I don't really see the point. But there's a reflexiveness of like, well, they lost, so you have to move them down. And it's like, well, did anything that you saw from Iowa tell you that they're not like a borderline top 20 team?
Right.
I didn't see anything like that. And the committee has always done that in a way that the human polls have not. Louisville at number 20.
Which means Miami will be ahead of them with the same number of losses and the head-to-head loss, which will apply to Miami and Louisville, but not Notre Dame. What's up?
There's a horrible loss from Louisville. So down 5 spots. Virginia also down 5 spots at 19.
Which that's about where I had them to. I may have had them ahead of Michigan USC. It's pretty close. But
so that guarantees Miami is the highest ACC team, does it not? Am I forgetting somebody? Michigan.
Georgia Tech was higher.
Oh, Georgia Tech. Excuse me.
Yeah, number 18 Michigan. I imagine USC will be one spot ahead, which makes sense. Michigan's interesting because like if you beat Ohio State 10-2. I don't know if they'd get into the Big Ten championship or not. It might come down to some weird tiebreakers, especially if USC keeps winning. But that could be in play. Yeah, number 17 USC. That all makes sense. So do we think Miami is going to be 16? They'll still be behind. I imagine they're probably still.
They beat Syracuse last week. Like they were bad in the first half, but the final score looked pretty good. Oh, so Georgia
Tech 16. Whoa. That means Miami is now your new favorite.
Interesting.
Miami beat Syracuse. I'm surprised Miami jumped up so much.
And they didn't look good in the first half at all. I think it was like, was it 7-0 at halftime?
So Miami has jumped Georgia Tech, who was off, right? Georgia Tech didn't play last week. So
I believe that
win was apparently enough to move Miami up. Maybe they heard
a weird decision.
Number 15, Miami.
Here's my theory on this, Chris. Here's my theory on this. I don't think it's as much being impressed by a win over Syracuse. I suspect what it is members of the committee, because these polls are done very differently. You are sitting in a room, and a lot of times you are placing teams with the other people. I wonder if there was some discomfort in the room at how far apart Miami and Notre Dame were last week. And some of the people in the committee may be hearing some of the arguments of saying, hey, there's no reason why Miami should be 8 spots below Notre Dame, and then maybe course correcting this week. I want that to me makes a lot more sense than, oh, good job against Syracuse, we're going to bump you over Georgia Tech.
I mean, not everybody agrees, by the way, in the committee room. It's
yes,
everybody votes.
Vanderbilt's at 14, by the way.
Vanderbilt at 14, which makes sense. I mean,
but I wonder if there were people that were
JJJ3 John, Miami over Georgia Tech is correct on resume. I agree. I have Miami over Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Utah remains at 13, which means BYU will be and should stay ahead of them.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if there were people in the room that didn't feel strongly about the Miami Notre Dame conversation, and then seeing it the first week, hearing some of the argument, I wonder if some of the conversation flipped some of it, because it doesn't make sense moving Miami up 3 spots.
But you can't make them too close, because if you make them too close, you have to put Miami ahead of Notre Dame.
Well, I mean, there might be some people who feel like they should be.
I mean, Notre Dame, though, will probably be up to like 9 here.
Yeah.
And then probably Texas at 10. All right, BYU is number 12, dropping 5 spots. I
appreciate the graphics showing us the movement, by the way. Shout out to ESPN.
Yeah.
I wouldn't remember this stuff. As passionate as you know I am, Chris, about rankings, I would not remember where they were last week.
It should tell you what they dropped from, not how many spots. You can do the math. I'd rather do that math.
I like the spots personally, but
number 11, Oklahoma. And Texas didn't play last week, right? So I imagine it'll be Texas 10, Notre Dame 9.
Presumably. I'm still is Oklahoma good? I guess.
I think the winning, even though they lost, I was impressed with a lot of what they did against Ole Miss. And then winning at Tennessee, like those are some games they've bounced back from Texas in a very strong way.
Yeah, even the Tennessee win though, like you win that game, but it's like you got outplayed in that game. So it's like, what do we take away from that? I don't really know.
All right, number 10, Texas at 10, as we expected. John mentions Miami was too close to Louisville and head-to-head kicks in last time. Now they are freed from that head-to-head, which is true. I have that as well. I had to move Louisville down. Texas is weird, man. Like they should be here, but they also shouldn't be here. You know.
Mm-hmm.
You were down 17 in the fourth quarter to Mississippi State, and you went to overtime with Kentucky as well. And yet, you've beaten Vanderbilt, you've beaten Oklahoma, you've lost to Ohio State by 7.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Texas contains multitudes.
Yep.
I think it's hard for me to see Texas getting in the playoff and just getting embarrassed. Like I could see them playing a disgusting 17-13 game, but there's Notre Dame at number 9 as we thought.
So what? So Miami's 15 and Notre Dame's 9.
Yeah,
it's a decent enough distance. Oregon at 8.
They don't really move. They just slid up ahead of.
The only questions left is who's next. Is it Ole Miss or is it Texas Tech next? You can make a case for both. Ole Miss. Ole Miss is number 7. That means Texas Tech will, I presume, move up to number 6. It was really close. I really thought about doing that in my rankings. Yep, Texas Tech number 6.
Dude, really a Texas Tech, Texas or Texas A&M playoff game. Like, what if we get both? Like, if Texas Tech plays Texas in the first round and then gets A&M in the second round, like, oh man, that'd be.
It's like going back to the.
It's
like going to the old NHL playoff style where you play your division tournament before you get to the conference championship.
We have to get a Texas Tech game with somebody in state. Have to.
Yeah, but that's fair. I mean, Tech blew out BYU. They blew out Utah.
Yeah.
They haven't played a close game other than the one they lost with their backup quarterback to an Arizona State team that is not great, but did have their quarterback. And it was like on the last play of the game.
Arizona State's they've been up and down all season.
Yeah.
I assume Jordan Tyson played in that game. I'm not sure. Georgia at number 5.
The only question is, does Texas A&M flip with Indiana? And I don't think they will. A&M's overall resume is not as great as we think.
And Missouri not in the top 25. So they're not.
Missouri's out, so it's not top 25 win. Alabama number 4 as expected. That means number 3 is Texas A&M. So we will have Indiana number 2, Ohio State number 1, which makes sense.
Unless the committee really thinks highly of Penn State.
Look, they showed the winning edge. I know Ohio State beat them by 24 points the week prior, but
I think Penn State. You'd be hard pressed to find a better 0-6 Big Ten team in the history of the league. I'll tell you that right now.
T. Davidson 5203. If overtime results were valued as ties, Texas would not be in the playoff or anywhere close. Correct. We used to have ties. Now we don't. Some people want to bring back ties. I don't. I just want a normal overtime.
I hate wearing ties. They're very constricting, uncomfortable.
Your dimensions too. You're a big neck guy. That's gonna be tough. Indiana number 2, number 1 Ohio State as we expected. All right, now they're gonna put them into the bracket, which does not actually matter, but it's fun.
I hate the fake bracket. Imagine. I gotta tell you, I hate the fake bracket.
I love the fake brackets we have on theathletic.com though. People should check those out.
I do love those. Any other fake brackets I hate.
I just don't
want to get excited about these games that are just not gonna happen. But
I haven't done the math here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 and 6. We are set up for if Texas A&M is going to have a bye and Tech will be in the pod right before them.
It has to happen. We have to have it.
5, 6.
So it's 2 SEC teams and
it'd
2
be close.
Big Ten
I think it's
teams.
going to be A&M.
I suspect that's how the buys are going to go. Oh, there it is. Yeah, you're right, Chris. Texas Tech.
I think Tech plays Miami though, and not Texas.
I think that's right.
It's a second
6-11, so Miami would be the 11.
Yeah.
And then Georgia would play South Florida. I tell you what, South Florida, not the greatest defense you've ever seen in the world. I'd be intrigued to see that game. Like, I'd be wondering if maybe Georgia would just run the ball down their throats with Keith Frazier, but
yeah,
I think South Florida could put some points on the board. I think there'd be some long nights on the phone between Alex Golish and Josh Heupel.
What's weird is that though, like USF played Florida and beat them, but they didn't beat them with offense. They beat them with defense.
All
right, I need to find the full rankings here so I can talk about them in one.
They're hard to find
image.
Like as they've happened.
Everybody posts like their top 10 or their this.
Yeah.
All right, on can credit On3 with coming through as always with the graphic. Now I just need to click on this, so we'll open up. Okay. So, all right, let's reset now that we have the whole thing.
Yeah.
And at this point, the audio from this point forward will be on your podcast feed tomorrow morning.
It'll be in your feeds tomorrow morning. Enjoy we got a little bit of this time of year it is still bunch formation after dark. So
all right, let me do a reset here. Everybody can watch our intro here. All right.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Bunch Formation, your newest favorite college football show. I am Chris Vannini, and I'm the only one here who knew what time the playoff ranking show started.
That's right. I am David Ubben, and I almost missed this show to bathe our child, but I'll probably knock it out once we're out of here, Chris. So
priorities.
They're moving the show around every week. We don't get the dramatic things. I did see my guy Ivan Maisel. Very dramatic shot in the meeting room, but
do you think
the lack of consistency in my life with the top 25 reveal? I don't want to be looking this up every week, but I think that's just the life that we've chosen at this point.
I've not talked to Ivan about that, but when I retire, 60 years from now, I hope I'm on that CFP committee. When we
I would not do it, committee. Chris. I hope that you have better ways to use your time in retirement than I recognize the desire from some people to quote unquote want to give back to the sport. Go mentor some kids. Don't submit yourself and your family to like abuse from insane fans. All
right.
I would never. We do it. Anyway.
We are here to talk about the possible playoff rankings that were just revealed. We are, as we were speaking, live on YouTube and other channels. You may be listening to this after the fact. Shorter, quicker playoff reveal this time around. We're here to just kind of react to the rankings as we see fit. For anybody who's here live, please throw your questions into the chat and we will get them. I think the biggest headlines from this rankings, and we can take them as they come. Texas Tech up to number 6, jumping Ole Miss. Miami up to number 15, jumping not only Louisville and Virginia, who lost, but jumping Georgia Tech, who did not play. And then USF coming in as a ranked and the highest ranked group of 5 team at number 24. David, where should we start?
Well, let's start at the top, I guess, where Texas Tech, I think it'll be interesting if Texas Tech can play their way into one of the buys. I suspect they might be able to. They've got to probably be dominant. It would help them a lot if the SEC championship or the Big Ten championship were pretty lopsided, which I guess is a possibility. But you look at the bracket that they rolled out tonight, obviously you've got 2 Big Ten teams, 2 SEC teams. I think that's what a lot of people feared. I think that's pretty clear. That's what it should be at the moment. But I think for Texas Tech, that's the only question here because you're probably getting into the Big 12 championship with UCF and West Virginia ahead. I think even with a loss, that's probably UCF and West Virginia. Even with a loss in the Big 12 championship, that's probably not going to be enough to knock you out, especially considering how the committee views those losses as games that a lot of people aren't playing. But there is a question of, can you get into those buys? And that's going to be tight. So that'll be interesting. We can start at the top, though.
Yeah, I think Tech move. I was really close to moving Tech over Ole Miss in my rankings. I ultimately did not. But the case is they've blown out BYU, their only loss at home. They beat Utah handily on the road, largely with their backup quarterback. Utah, a top 13 team, still at number 13. And their loss was with their backup quarterback. With their starting quarterback missing. Baron Morton didn't play the Arizona State game, and Arizona State won very late. That's a pretty good case there. And Texas Tech has not played a close game, otherwise. Like every game they played is a blowout. Ole Miss, you beat Oklahoma on the road, which is Oklahoma's number 11. You blew out Tulane, who is not ranked,
but probably in the top 40 in the metrics, I would assume.
It is up there. And you had a close loss to Georgia. You played them tight the whole way. And it's about it. Like the LSU win doesn't mean as much as we thought it did. And you also beat Washington State by 3. So, the Tech case is pretty good. I think if you're Ole Miss, you're not sweating it too much. I have no idea who's going to play for the SEC championship yet. It's going to take a number of things, but there is a chance to get there. I do think if Ohio State and Indiana win out, they're both 12-0. Big Ten's getting 2 first-round buys for sure. And then you have 2 SEC teams there. I don't see a 1-loss Indiana getting jumped.
If that game is like 38-10 Ohio State, you don't think Indiana would be bumped down to at least a 5 line?
No, because it depends what Oregon does. Oregon's got USC and Washington still to play. If Oregon wins those games and remains a top 8 team, then probably not. But if Oregon loses a couple, then maybe that changes. I guess
I still think there's some bubbling skepticism about Indiana against elite teams. And if Ohio State makes them look like they're not in that national title contender range, I think the committee bumps them out of that top 4.
It depends what's elsewhere. It depends, is it what happens in the SEC? Does Alabama still have 1 loss? Is A&M undefeated or 1 loss?
Yeah, I feel that's the question is if you're going to bump them out, then who is it
early
for? And if there's somebody that deserves it, then sure. But yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, so we got a comment here from Trey on Twitter. Can you all explain to me how Notre Dame is ahead of Texas and Oklahoma? Neither have any good wins in comparison to either. It's a fair point. And it's something I have thought about as well. Texas, I think it doesn't matter. First of all, because Texas still has to play A&M and Georgia. Oklahoma plays Alabama. If those teams win those games, I think they will jump Notre Dame.
Yes,
they will jump Notre Dame. So it ultimately will work itself out. But it is a fair case because Notre Dame's best win is USC, who's ranked. And after that, it's Navy.
It's probably just recent. I think it's just recency bias ultimately. Like good old fashioned, you haven't lost in 7 weeks, and we've seen these other 2 teams lose. I don't think it's much more complicated than that.
That's part of it. I have maintained that the fact that Notre Dame lost their first 2 games gave them more time to kind of put that in out of sight, out of mind. Whereas
and they were good. They were good losses. If there is such a thing,
you lost by 1 on a. Because you couldn't do
the A&M game was kind of fluky. Miami, you just got beat, but it's still a close loss.
Yeah.
So
the other thing though that John mentions in the chat, the computers love Notre Dame relative to the other 2, which is true. There's a lot of I don't remember it's game control metrics or there's this one chart I saw that's pretty good like that like all of your games how your game rating essentially how did you do in this game, and for Notre Dame it's all really high. There hasn't been like a horrible performance like an Oklahoma had against Texas or a Texas had against Oklahoma. Now, how much should you weigh computers versus not? I don't know, but I do know that the computers do like them quite a bit. And ultimately, like I said, I do think it's going to work itself out.
Yeah.
For that one.
Do we want to talk about the ACC debacle?
Yeah. So we've got Miami at 15. Now your top team in the ACC, but their path to the ACC championship game is still pretty tough because you have 2 conference losses. And that
There's
means
4 teams, I believe, in the ACC that have one. It's 4 or 5.
like Georgia Tech could lose to Georgia, be ranked in the 20s, win the ACC championship, be ranked behind Miami, and make the playoff because they are the conference champion. That is the problem with having these gigantic conferences and having unequal schedules and not having divisions. And whoops, we have a multi-team tie for the first place and second place, and here's who's in the championship game. So, Louisville and Virginia, they both lose. Louisville was the second conference loss, but Virginia still very much has a path to the ACC, has a path to the playoff. You hope Chandler Morris is okay. What did you think?
Well, I think the biggest question is, why is Miami going up 3 spots after beating Syracuse in a game that they didn't look great? I mean, the second half they did come on strong, but they didn't look great. The offense was a disaster in the first half against a Syracuse team that's looked pretty bad for most of the last month since Steve Angeli got hurt. And they go up 3 spots. They jump over Georgia Tech, who was idle last week. And they go from being 8 spots behind Notre Dame, who they beat, to 6 spots behind them. To me, just reading it, and we talked about this on the live stream before, but it reads to me like I think there were members of the committee who were not comfortable with that 8-spot gap between 2 teams that have the same record, and obviously Miami, despite the bad losses, did beat Notre Dame. And
they're not that bad. They're not that bad of losses that
not bad of losses, but
Louisville's still a top. It was both
great.
by one score. Louisville's still a top 20 team, and SMU's probably right outside the top 25 at 7-3.
Fair enough.
In overtime.
All that to say, I think that the only explanation to me that really makes sense is that there were some members of the committee who were maybe not super fired up about that, but it's the first rankings. And there was a lot of conversation last week about, is that right? 8 spots behind them. And I think there might be some members of the committee who course corrected a little bit this week and said, they should be closer. Nothing else really makes sense. There's no reason why beating Syracuse, even though it ended up being by 30 points, should bump you up 3 spots. There's just no other reason for that other than they weren't completely comfortable with how last week's rankings looked. And, of course, how they were received, that big gap.
First off, the interview with committee chair Mac Rhodes is starting right now. I imagine he will not be asked about Michael Trigg, at least on this interview. Who knows if he will on the call afterwards.
Is wearing the right color coordination. He better hope for his sake he is.
So the ACC point. Well, I don't think I agree with that the committee reacted to public reaction about Miami. I think it's pretty simple.
So what's the what is the reason
here's what
to
happened.
Go up 3
Here's
spots?
What happened. They had to be behind Louisville last week because they had lost to Louisville, and Louisville had 1 loss and Miami had 2. I had that in my rankings as well. You had to have Miami behind Louisville. Now that Louisville has lost to Cal, you can bump Miami up a bit. They're still pretty far behind Notre Dame. I still would rank Miami ahead of Notre Dame. I still think the teams are similar enough on the resume that head-to-head should put Miami over Notre Dame. Whether that's relative to Texas, Oklahoma, again, you can debate it, but that will work itself out as those teams finish their schedules. But I don't think Miami's not that much closer. They're not. I still don't know if Miami is in at-large territory yet. I mean, maybe if Bama beats Oklahoma,
I don't think so. Also, Chris,
twice,
is there a scenario in which we've talked about the no bid ACC, which is a very funny scenario. But is there a scenario in which the ACC champion Duke would not get in the playoff? James Madison would get in the playoff, but Miami swipes an at-large from the ACC whose champion does not make the playoff. I believe that's possible. Is it not?
So, but by the way, first off, appreciate everybody who's here watching the show live. Please subscribe to the show on podcast, on YouTube forum, whatever you have. And enjoy this. We'll have a Week 12 preview episode out on Thursday. The no bid ACC thing is tough because James Madison's 1 loss was to Louisville. Mm-hmm. And that's where it becomes, if Louisville makes the ACC championship game and they lose to Duke, you can't put James Madison in over Duke. That's why if you're the committee also, you can't put James Madison up too high. You can't put JMU in the top 25 right now, because if you do, you can't take them out. And it's hard to see a scenario. It's hard to see a scenario in which you put Duke in at all. And so that
College
is
Dog said for my scenario it would take a lot. It would, but it's on the table at least.
It is. It's possible Louisville doesn't make the championship game, and so like a few things could happen. But if somebody who wins the ACC beat Louisville, that comes into play there.
Do you want to talk G5, Chris?
Well, and so just the last one on the Miami front. Is there a way in order for them to get an at-large, they will have to be in the top 10? Because if Georgia Tech beats Georgia, they will jump Miami. But Miami's got Pitt still. We'll see what Pitt does to Notre Dame this weekend.
Well, and it's college football also, Chris, and it's the last month of the season. A lot can happen.
Big game for Notre Dame at Pitt this weekend. Not a big game for Pitt, according to Pat Narduzzi, which we'll talk about more on the Thursday show. But if Pitt knocks off Notre Dame, that could send Notre Dame tumbling back behind Miami. And then if Miami beats Pitt, or they both beat Pitt, but Miami beats them by a lot more, that ups the case for Miami ahead of Notre Dame again. Vanderbilt could lose to Tennessee, Utah, BYU, Cincinnati this week. Oklahoma could lose to Alabama. Texas could lose to Georgia or Texas A&M. So like Oregon could lose to USC Washington. So like there is a path for Miami to get an at-large if they win out. And a week ago, I didn't really think that was the case. But as you said, college football, a lot of stuff can happen. And then whoops, Wake Forest beat Virginia, Cal beat Louisville. And now we've got a new look in that middle spot. Group of 5. USF is the only team from the group of 5 ranked at number 24. I think that's a good spot. I think it is accurate that they should be the number 1. They are not the number 1 in the AP poll. They put James Madison above. But USF's resume is good.
Yeah.
Like they blew out North Texas, which was their only loss.
North Texas should be noted.
They beat Florida back when Florida had a coach. They blew out Boise State. Their loss to Memphis was on the road and it was close. And the other loss was lopsided to Miami, who's a top 15 team right now. James Madison, your best win is like Old Dominion, I think. And your losses to Louisville. So I don't know. Any other, what thoughts do you have on Group of 5?
Yeah, I think I'm curious how far the gap is between USF and Tulane. It's hard to say. Obviously we don't know. How far out of the top 25 was the Group of 5? Clearly the answer was not very far. So, I think that's the only real question I have is what does it look like behind USF? How close is Tulane? How close is James Madison? Is North Texas a factor still?
Should be. If North Texas wins out,
you got a tiebreaker issue. Yeah.
If North Texas is 11-1, like it's kind of the James Madison thing. Like if you're 11-1, you might find yourself in the top 25 just by a matter of fact. And that's important because if you're ranked plays a factor in the American tiebreaker potential scenarios. If it's if it's 2 teams they played head to head, it's the team that won. But if it's multiple teams, or if it's teams that haven't played, it can come down to CFP ratings and if you were ranked and won, or if you were ranked and lost.
Yeah, and Tulane and North Texas don't play, I believe. I have
Tulane,
that correct.
And Tulane and USF don't play. These conferences are way too damn big. That applies to the Power 4. It applies to the Group of 5 as well. And so that is my thought, G5. San Diego State's out. But in the American, you've got Tulane, North Texas, USF. That it? Was there a third? I feel like there might have been another one.
Navy is like still
Navy,
in that
but Navy
teams,
just lost.
But like,
yeah, it's just those two. I don't see. Yeah, ECU or Navy's probably. Well, ECU's got one conference loss. Like
that's what I'm saying. The numbers are still there, but I don't think those teams are on the same level as those first 3. So
East Carolina's gonna be a tough spot to fill in terms of getting into the conference championship. That would help James Madison, but you're not there. All right, so we got a comment here from Trey on Twitter who says, I miss the old BCS computer state. Fun thing about the BCS, there's a Twitter account called BCS Know-How, which is really interesting, and it simulates the BCS standings, I believe, just based. Oh yeah, it's based on the AP poll, coaches poll, and the computers. What the actual criteria was for a while before they took the AP poll out, put the Harris poll in. But the top 10 is almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
The top 10 in the simulated BCS standings: Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas Tech. That's the only thing that's a little bit different. And then Notre Dame, Texas. And then BYU, Oklahoma. Those two are flipped. So and you go through the rest of it, it's pretty close. And when people say want to go back to the BCS, the committee is generally pretty close to what that was.
Yeah.
And I think that is notable.
I think so. I do have another logistical question, Chris, as we look forward to the playoff. Last year, State College hosted a playoff game. You went to that game, Chris. You did not stay in a hotel in State College. Do you know? Yeah. Do you know what the hotel prices were in town for that game?
Not for fans. There was a media hotel, but I didn't stay in it. I don't know what it was a general, not ridiculous.
I'm curious
rate,
what the rate would
but it was
been.
an hour but it was an hour and a half, but it was an hour and a half outside of town.
Yeah. One of the chief offenders of hotel room gouging in the country is Lubbock, Texas. They are infamous for it. Them and College Station is pretty bad.
We looked this last week.
I know. And that's what I was thinking about. But I remember back in the day, they did the same thing. And then the school used to save a couple rooms. If there are media that wanted to come in late, they would help out with that.
You are
pretty bad.
You are required to have a media hotel per the CFP.
I'm just talking about for fans in general, because Lubbock is not easy to get to. And I'm curious, if you're not playing a Texas school, what that looks like for fans, opposing, or even fans that are, living in other places. If you're playing, if you get that noon game on Saturday, right, and you're in Dallas or you're in Oklahoma City, it could be kind of messy. We'll see. Midland is an hour and a half away.
It's easier.
Exactly a huge.
It's a lot easier if you're in Oklahoma City or Dallas than if you're, Oregon or something. I would say, with that. No, I forgot what I was going to say. What were we talking about? Hotel prices, trips. Also that by the way, this year the noon game on Saturday is on ESPN, not TNT. It's the later two games that are going to be on TNT, which makes me really fascinated where everyone gets slotted in, because normally those second two windows are the night window, especially, is the biggest game. That was Ohio State, Tennessee last year. But this year that's a TNT game because you're going up against the NFL. So, home field is, man, home field playoff games are awesome, man.
Yeah, it was great. I was at the Columbus game last year. It was incredible.
You were at Ohio State. I was at Penn State. It was the coldest SMU people had ever been in their life. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. The hotels in State College, difficult. Pretty famously, some of the rich SMU boosters took a private plane from Dallas to Happy Valley. They showed up with Bryson DeChambeau. They were a little bit late and had to get diverted to Williamsport, where the Little League World Series is, and then bus up. So if you have
by the
to go
time
to
they got
Texas,
to the game, I believe it was already 21-7. So
it was 21-0, something like that. Yeah. And I talked to Bill Armstrong. It was him. He was the guy who charted the whole thing. He was at the press conference afterward, the tiny little press conference room at SMU, and I talked to him for a little bit after the press conference, and he was cold, but he was like, it was fun. He was happy for the team making the run and everything. He's got his name on the indoor facility. And so if you have to go to Lubbock for the game, you may need to book a private plane, but make sure you show up on time. So there's that. Anything? Hold on. Let me see. Were there any other questions here? Yeah, Daddy Durag X said Miami, Texas Tech, and Lubbock seems like such a sick matchup. That would be cool. That would
anybody going.
Well, except
Lubbock,
for Carson Beck.
Seems like Yeah. Anybody going to Lubbock? I mean, Lubbock, especially at night, man, is quite a place. Like many seasons have gone and died there, including some of Texas Tech's. But it's an interesting place to play. They were like for the longest time in the old Big 12, they were such a thorn in the side of Oklahoma and Texas when nobody could seem to beat them. Texas Tech kept finding ways to pull some of those games out. So it's interesting.
I think trying to see what comments Mac Rhodes has made to see if there's anything notable. Not yet. He just finished the ESPN interview. Comment here from John. BYU shouldn't fall behind both Texas and Oklahoma. You know, they've got Cincinnati this week, right? BYU Cincinnati. I think it's this week or next week. And that will be another opportunity for BYU because they blew out or not blew out, but they beat Utah at home, but there's not a ton of like great wins otherwise. They beat Arizona State, I think, but ASU was without Sam Levitt in that game, I think. So and again, that's going to work itself out because Oklahoma and Texas still have very difficult games to play. And if they win, they should have been ahead anyway. They will jump ahead of Notre Dame. If they lose, they will fall behind or they were already behind. Anyway, I don't think that one's that much of a big deal. If anybody else has any questions, by the way, put those in the chat. We will answer those. I think ultimately, just kind of looking at the rest of the rankings here, I think it all makes like the Notre Dame thing. I'm kind of like, I'm still on that because the resume is not great. You're really leaning on close losses. But you could fall behind Texas and Oklahoma pretty quickly, and I still think Miami should be ahead.
I will say on the Notre Dame thing, like there's an eye test element to that as well. Where like if you watch Notre Dame and you told me they're one of the 10 best teams in the country, I'm good with that. If you watch them, I haven't seen
across the board they've played like that, like a top 10 team. Yeah, they played Miami to 3 points on the road, and they played Texas A&M to 1 point at home.
BYU going into the Texas Tech game because of their record, because what they've done. Yeah, they got to be in the top 10. But very rarely was I watching BYU during the season and saying that's one of the 10 best teams in the country. You win all your games, you do all that, you deserve to be up there. But they, were playing with a horseshoe and where.
So do we think BYU has a at-large shot? I have to think so.
A shot, yeah. They're
like if they win out, if they beat Cincinnati and win out, well, hold on. If they beat Cincinnati, win out to get to 11-1. Say it's Texas and Oklahoma drop a game, so BYU gets up to 10. Mm-hmm. Maybe Oregon drops a game, but either way. You go back and face Texas Tech again, and you lose.
You probably need to be closer. You probably need to lose closer.
Like if you go lose, and put up one touchdown and lose pretty handily to Texas Tech again, that could be really hard. But if you play it close, maybe not.
It's worth noting. I'm trying to recall, and I don't. We had some losers in conference title games last year that obviously still got bids. Nobody lost. Yeah, nobody got handled. And I'm very curious. Yeah. The committee can say they don't want to penalize that, but what happens if you get maybe not even embarrassed, but just like, it's 21-0 at halftime and you lose 31-10. We don't know how the committee actually treats those teams. And you can, to SMU last year, you lose on a last-second field goal and this crazy drive. But remember, it's like, okay.
SMU was down like 17 in that game at halftime. And that's what we were saying at the time. No, I'm saying, but like that was what we were saying at the time when SMU was losing by 17 or 21 or whatever it was to Clemson. At halftime, we were like, man, like this is not close. Like we were debating that at the time if SMU would be left out. I think fairly, but then when they rallied to tie it, make it close, at that point the committee's job got pretty easy. The committee had it easy last year. They have not yet had it hard in terms of what do you do with a conference champion who gets blown out. So that is definitely something.
I thought that the selections last year were pretty clear, and then the SEC decided to go and change the rules.
But like Texas Tech, at this point, if they win their last two,
no question, Texas Tech.
If they win out in the regular season, are they?
Yes.
You think they're in?
Close. Yeah, you could lose 45-0 in the championship game, and you're still in.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I
because
do.
BYU would get if it's BYU would get in with the automatic bid. You will have already beaten them. It's the TCU Kansas State thing from a few years ago.
Yeah.
Where they lost in the conference championship game to a K-State team they had already beaten. And TCU got in as a number 3 seed. If it's Cincinnati, if Cincinnati beats BYU, beats Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship, like
I don't think it matters.
maybe.
I don't think it matters.
I don't know.
Texas Tech has been really impressive to this point in the year. They've looked like a top 5-ish team all year. That matters. Like game control, beating the crap out of teams, that matters. And one loss is not going to make the committee forget that. So, I would recommend not tripping up against UCF and West Virginia. I don't think they will, but anything can happen. No. And if you do that and you get to Arlington, I don't think anything matters what happens in Arlington.
That'll be interesting because I will probably be covering the Big 12 championship game because it's here in Dallas. But last year was fun because you knew the winner was going to go in and the loser wasn't. It made for kind of a tense game. You might have that situation in Charlotte.
Oh, I'm
the ACC championship.
99% sure I will have that situation in Charlotte.
I think ultimately it's the same as last week. My only real big thought is Notre Dame and Miami. That is still my kind of big focus right now, where I still think Miami should be ahead. They are not. Miami is still back far enough that they still need a lot of help to get an at-large. And the idea of potentially an ACC team ranked below them winning the ACC and getting in ahead of Miami would be both hilarious and dumb and really bolster your case, David, for not having conference championships.
Imagine that. I mean, listen.
Or you could just not have.
I don't know.
Or you could just not.
I don't know what the Big 12 and ACC should do. I don't know what the Big 12 and ACC should do in that respect. I suspect they should keep it the way it is. But I still it's going to be good to get the Ohio State Indiana matchup out of the way before the playoffs. So that kind of, we're probably not going to have that conversation on the Big 10. But the SEC is almost certainly going to be a rematch of two teams that have already played that are going to be two of the best chances for the league to win a national championship.
How do we know it's going to be a rematch? I mean, it could be Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M hasn't played.
But I would say I might not be. But I don't think
Georgia and A&M haven't played.
I know, but there's not an A&M Alabama lust in the same way that there is in Ohio State, Indiana, where people have been arguing them all year. My point is, it's just pointless. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Comment from, I forgot how to say this. David, you know how to say this, right? This name about the
Komatihe Guide, I believe.
There you go. Does the committee just have no faith in Mario Cristobal's ability to manage a playoff game? No, I think Miami has been very inconsistent. You look at their game rating score, it's very all over the place. First half against Stanford, not good. First half against Syracuse, not great. So I think you look at Notre Dame and you see a very consistent team. That is the case. I just disagree with the case because you have the head-to-head situation in here. But that is the case. You've lost one game to an unranked team. I think having them ahead of Vanderbilt is a fair case to make. Even Utah, maybe. But it's all those teams from Notre Dame to, Michigan or USC down at 17 or 18 are all, pretty close ultimately. Yeah, John says, so. say things about Miami and then say those same things about Texas and ask yourself if it is true. I don't quite understand. He's saying Miami should be ahead of Texas.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, the problem is Texas has wins against Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, which.
Yeah, two top 15 teams, 14 teams.
Miami gained a top 25 win this week, so there's something to be said for that.
And Texas has the one loss to the number one team in the country by 7 points.
Yes.
I think in my rankings, I had Miami, Notre Dame, Texas, Oklahoma. But you really could flip that, and I would say that's totally fine. And after this weekend, we might. It's the nice thing about that is that it ultimately opens itself up. So that's kind of my big thing. But this is the fun thing about college football, man. Like, there's still so many things that could happen. Notre Dame's still got Pitt. Miami's got Pitt. Georgia Tech's got Georgia. Ohio State and Indiana have each other. Ohio State has Michigan. Oklahoma and Texas have tough games remaining. Like, nobody's coasting to the end of the regular season here except for Texas Tech probably, and maybe Ole Miss. In Indiana, but
Ole Miss is in the catbird seat, man. If they don't have to play in Atlanta, which I don't think they.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like, you may benefit by it in the way that Miami gets hurt by it. Ole Miss may benefit by it.
Yeah.
So, all right, I think that's a good enough talk about the ratings. We will be back on Thursday with our normal weekend preview show. We're going to talk about some other stuff like Pat Narduzzi's comments. We got a lot of feedback about paper tickets, more feedback about sports bars. Looking forward to the show. If you are not a subscriber to the show, please, wherever you listen to podcasts, look up Bunch Formation, subscribe it. If you like it, please leave us a 5-star review. We will read it on the show. If you're on YouTube, please like this video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you don't already. All this stuff really helps us as just a new independent show. We are the only ones making it, producing it. There's nobody else. It's just us. And it's been fun. And I like getting on here, talking with people as it happens. Yeah. We might be live again Saturday night for After Dark.
I would say presumably. I'm not covering the game.
We'll nail that down. We'll nail that down and tell you on the Thursday show if we will be doing After Dark. But I think we should, because I don't think either of us are going to a game. So
Bunch Formation After Dark. So
Bunch Formation, folks. Appreciate everybody for listening. For David Ubben, I am Chris Vannini. We will talk to you on Thursday.
And bring back the turnover chain, as always.